Hey guys, welcome back to the Falco. Today I'm going to have a quick look back at the home match against Wolverhampton Wanderers yesterday. I've already done a video with Jim over at Oso Spurs on the ins and outs of the game and, players and what happened. So if you want, please do go and check that out for a bit more detail on that. I want to zoom out a little bit and kind of focus on more general themes in terms of what we've seen so far. And where I think we're at. So where I'll come at this from is I've been seeing quite a lot of negativity. Obviously, we're all a bit deflated going into a game against Wolves, which Tottenham Hotspur should be winning. Wolves are not playing well this season. And even though I think Thomas Frank said they've been competitive, they have not been a good side. And we should certainly have had enough with the players we had available to beat Wolves at home, regardless of past records, regardless of past managers. It's a new season, plenty of new players, and it's a new manager and coaching staff. So I don't buy the we haven't beaten Wolves in the last six argument. This is a completely new start. So disappointment, and having had 24 hours to sit on it, my disappointment from yesterday immediately after the game remains in place. So that tells you that it's not just the emotional reaction after the game. It was a very, very disappointing performance. And again, these things are, sometimes you talk about results and sometimes you talk about performances. Now, you will take results when they're positive and they come for you, but performances are indicative of where you are as a side. So, in cup competitions, all right, results, fluke every win all the way through to a final and fluke the final, win a cup, great. Put it in the cabinet and walk on. But in the league, that's not how it works. And when you are not putting things together, what tends to happen is eventually that luck runs out, or the rub of the green, or just eking out the results or getting over the line, it falls off, and then you're going to go through a difficult or a very sticky patch. And Tottenham have certainly got quite a favourable Premier League opening. First kind of 8-9 games, 10 games of the Premier League look nicely set up, but then things are going to get very, very tasty after that in the kind of November run of Champions League games in the midweek, and then some of the top six or the bigger sides that we're going to be playing against interspersed, or some long away games with big teams on either side. So that is where things have a tendency to unravel. So we need to hugely improve our efficiency and our completion, because performances like yesterday can become symptomatic, and they can leave players flat, and they can leave players making poor decisions. Just to talk generally about the game, one of the biggest reasons in that second half that we didn't go on and we conceded and we couldn't then put it back together was simply the players themselves. They not only do they look a bit flat, which can happen because we're starting to have midweek games and weekend games, but also just technically just not executing, not completing, sloppy passing. Taking away responsibility is one of the things I talk about when I'm coaching, and players not taking it. It's like, oh, I'm just going to play this pass and whatever happens. No, you play every pass. When things aren't going your way, every pass is played like it's a cup final pass. It's, I need to get on top of this right now until it starts to click and flow and we get some rhythm. So I felt we didn't do that. Too many individual errors, too many half mistakes and errors, and that it eventually led us to having a very poor second half performance. We were okay in the first. We created a few chances, probably should have scored in the first half. When you don't, and the opposition score first, and they then change up their formation, it wasn't like just an orthodox change to a 5-3-2 with three centre halves. They actually tucked in one of their fullbacks, which was quite nice, and it caused us an issue because we didn't know who was picking up where. But when we were coming forward, it added an extra man inside the fullback, in that almost inverted fullback area, which caused us problems. Not that our rotations were good or we were using them, but when we did get up there, we were outnumbered. We had an extra man in there, so that was quite nice from Pereira to do that, and we didn't figure it out. So let's look at it. Let's zoom out, the whatever it is, 40,000 feet view of this. It's obviously very frustrating at this moment in time. There is no great evidence that we are improving our progression of the football, our play down the centre of the pitch, the cohesion between the players, right? So we're not seeing that. And so that leads into some of the frustration. I talked about players being a bit sloppy and a bit lethargic. That can happen. Another criticism that I would level at that second half is it did look like there were too many increments from the coaching staff. There were too many bitty changes. There was, all right, just change this personnel, and then quickly another change, and then quickly another change. So it wasn't just substitutes, but also change to who was playing where and how they were being deployed. For me, there were too many increments, and that both made it disjointed from the perspective of us trying to settle into something and try and deliver something, but also not only did it not breed confidence in our group of players, but it also led to a situation where you just wonder whether the coaching staff really did have an idea of what they were going to do. It didn't feel like they were standing there with a really clear vision to how they were going to get over this hump. It's one. Sometimes these games happen. You know, you're just not at the races, and it happens. But when the big teams and the good teams and the successful teams do that, they get it done anyway because they've just got that little bit more quality, that little bit more experience, and obviously we're not there yet. So we obviously did manage to get a draw, which is better than I think Tottenham would have done traditionally. I think we'd have lost that game maybe by a couple of goals in previous seasons, whereas we managed to get a draw. So that is obviously now flipping over to the more positive side. But I do want to have a clearer idea of what this team is trying to do in terms of moving the ball up the pitch, because at the moment we're very threatening from fast breaks, and we're very threatening from crosses and from delivering the ball and from set pieces and dead ball situations. Very, very threatening. That's great. We know we're always in a game and we've always got a chance of scoring a goal. That's fantastic. Now let's see what the other side of the game is. Who are Tottenham Hotspur going to be? What's their identity? How are they going to impose themselves on other teams? And I don't think we're there yet. Let me go over to the glass half full side, and some of this might answer some of that more, kind of negative or hopefully constructive criticism that I've just mentioned. There is not at the moment a great deal of training time. Now, I said this last season when it was Ange Postecoglou, and a few people came back at me. And a little bit later in the season, Pedro Porro came out and said it in an interview. And do not underestimate the fact that when the games are coming thick and fast, you have not got a huge amount of time to get on the training pitch and work on the big tactical stuff. What you can do is you can work the individual stuff, a little individual stuff for the team that's coming up, but big picture stuff sometimes has to take a back seat. And if you are brave enough to be doing the big picture stuff, and come what may in terms of performances and results, then fair enough. But I'm not sure that Thomas Frank and his team are doing that at the minute. I think they've bedded in the defensive side, the rigidity, the hard to beat, the throwing yourself at stuff, the set pieces and all that kind of stuff. I think they've bedded that in, but they are focusing the limited training time they have on the upcoming opposition. So there isn't a great deal of time on the training pitch, and that makes it difficult. So it's going to take time. You have to be patient. We don't want to be patient because as Spurs fans, we've lived through all the previous iterations and all the previous years, right? So we carry that with us. Whereas every new management team that comes in, that's not their fault. You don't blame Thomas Frank and his coaching side for what's come before. So they can only do what they're doing from the point that they started their job. So that's number one. We've got some new players. So for once, we've signed players that go straight into our first team. We've got a few of them and they're new. And, Xavi Simons didn't have a great game. That can happen. He's a young player, but also he's trying to learn his teammates. And one of the issues that Thomas Frank, with his more pragmatic approach, is going to have to get on top of is the fact that if you do regularly change systems and the players being deployed, you have to be really, really clear that everybody that comes in fits in like a key in a lock. They come in and they do the job and they play with the players around them, and they've got that kind of awareness and understanding, that rhythm, that flow, and that's really hard to do. Limited training time, and these players are new. Okay, so that's another reason that it's a bit challenging at this moment in time, and we should be a little bit more patient with the team. Injuries to key players is the next one that I've got, and that for me is massive. At the moment, we are, our front line is really suffering because we've got multiple injuries in that front line. And, thankfully, Richarlison is staying fit and he looks pretty robust at the minute. But it is hard for him. He's playing every minute. He's going on international duties back in the Brazil national team. He's coming back. He's having to do all of it and he's not getting to sit. He's not getting a rest. So that is challenging. We could really do with reinforcements with our other strikers coming back. And we've obviously got key players out in our creative areas with Decky and Madison. And that's going to have an issue. It's going to cause an issue in terms of not being able to have those players available to change things when it's not quite going your way, or to be used to share out the minutes and to do something slightly different. And similarly to the players who have not yet come back into the back line as well. That's another issue that so far is not affecting us, but we are increasing the load. Like Romero's getting knocked around a lot in that Wolves game. We do have to be really careful of that as well. Overall, Thomas Frank has only been in for a couple of months. His coaching staff has only been there for a couple of months. We're doing okay. We are in the top, I think, 3 or 4 in the Premier League. We're probably top 4. I haven't checked the table after today's games. That if you were offered that at the beginning of the season, you take it. We are probably, with the favourable draw that we've had, the fixtures coming up, we've probably underperformed by maybe a couple of points. All right, the Man City game, even though we joke about Man City, that's a game that if you lost it, it's Man City. And so you flip, the 3 points that we got there could be the Bournemouth or could be, the 2 that we dropped against Wolves. So we're probably underperforming by a couple of points, which is obviously disappointing because we didn't beat the bottom side in the Premier League. But overall, we're doing okay. The results are fine. The performances are not quite there yet. And that's the thing that you would say, given all of this stuff that I've just talked about, can and we would hope does improve. And therefore, at the moment, no harm, no foul. Nothing to be panicking about and nothing to be, overly negative and overly critical. But it is absolutely fair for all of us Tottenham fans to sit there and analyse and constructively look at what we could do better. So, he deserves time. Thomas Frank deserves time and he deserves the benefit of the doubt. I go back to that point that I made about what's gone before is not his fault. So he needs the time. Whether or not he's the guy, I don't know. I don't have a strong feeling one way or another about Thomas Frank. But I think that is inherent in the way that he does things and who he is. He doesn't give you that. He's not got that cult figure stature. And he's certainly not got the CV or the track record that says to you, this is the guy. He can do it. Because either he's done it before or you follow him that way. So does he have that X factor? I don't know. Is he the type of manager who can be super successful if you give him all the tools he needs, which Tottenham have not been traditionally very good at doing? Possibly. Or is he a manager who was always trending in the right direction? We've picked him up, we give him a bigger and a better platform, and he now goes on, he improves, he takes things to the next level, and Tottenham are the beneficiaries of that in a similar way to the way Pochettino almost got us to the absolute peak of everything. You're so close, right? And could that be where Thomas Frank goes that one step further because he's just got that adaptability? Who knows? The X factor is a thing for me. When you look around the league and you see different managers, and you say, well, what's the difference between David Moyes Everton and David Moyes Manchester United? It's X factor. It's X factor. It's not that David Moyes doesn't know what he's doing. He's a fantastic manager. He's a fantastic coach. He knows football inside and out. But there is an X factor and there is something. Certain people have it. Certain people don't have it. And you see it. You see it in those top coaches when they come in, when they're doing what they're doing. Yes, they make great decisions. Yes, maybe they get luck. Yes, maybe they get backed. All of those things. But that's the same for every coach. There is an intangible that exists from those very, very top coaches. And it's very hard to know where Thomas Frank sits on that scale until he's given time. So that's where I'll leave it. That's where I'm coming at it from. I'm trying to be glass half full, as ever, but look at things really clear lensed and not through rose-tinted spectacles in terms of, okay, we're in the top 4, things are great. They're not. Plenty we can work on. So let's give the manager time. Let's give the team time. Let them bed in. Let them get to know each other. Let's get a few players back and see how we're doing. And then as we move forward. If these same issues persist, then it's symptomatic, or if we improve and hopefully, take significant strides forward, then we'll be able to put all this behind us and say, yep, it was just a normal starting and finding our feet, new coaching staff, new players, beginning of the season, and we move on from there. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Have a great end to your weekend, everyone, and as ever, come on, Tottenham.